Today, we're going to talk about how to build a personal brand as a visible go-to expert. And this is like a real thing, visible go-to expert. And this is something that you should take seriously because this is not for anyone who is just like playing around and wants to just try it out. I'm going to give you a full roadmap how to do it if you are serious about building your business and your personal brand in front of your business. But before we go into everything, let me get to know you a little bit better. Give me a 1 in the chat if you already have a business and a personal brand. Or a personal brand. And a 2 in the chat if you are about to start and you want to learn more about how to do it. Ones, hey, we have some ones, twos. All right. Yeah, I would say like equal distribution of ones and twos. So everyone will definitely learn a lot today. So this is for everyone who is starting and needs a roadmap how to start, and for everyone who is ready to get to the next level and really laser sharpen their positioning, really understand what it is required to become visible online, to produce content, to build authority, and to monetize your personal brand in the end. All right. So before we start, I would like to introduce myself so you know who I am and why I'm talking about this today. So my name is Angelika Tauber. I actually came into personal branding and marketing from science. I was a cancer researcher for 8 years, but I was very unhappy in my job. And I don't know if you have ever done this transition from doing one thing in your life and then starting something completely different, but that's
Era
what
una
happened.
investigadora en cáncer y se volvió asesora
Um,
en personal branding.
Venezuela, I'm going to mute you. So I'm going to mute everyone. All right. Yeah, so this is what happened to me. I was doing a really great job. I did my PhD here in Austria. Then I was working at a very prestigious Children's Cancer Research Institute in Vienna. And I felt so unfulfilled and unhappy because I watched my colleagues reading scientific articles for fun and basically like sleeping in the lab. And I was like, but I'm more creative. I would like to go make some pretty cakes, or I would like to go and paint. And I was always looking for creative outlets, and I was always feeling like there's something wrong with me. I'm not fitting here. And then at some point, I decided that I don't want to feel inadequate till the end of my life. And I just quit. And I jumped into the cold water. I had no plan A or B or C or anything. The only thing that I had going on for me back then was my Instagram account or the Instagram account of my dog. We started posting content for my puppy and it started going viral. And I was like, maybe I'm not too bad at this whole content creation thing. So I started applying for jobs in startups as a social media manager. So in the end, I worked as a marketing manager, social media manager, brand manager, and at some point I decided to open my own business. And so right now I run an agency that's actually undergoing rebranding, and we work with founders, speakers, and experts. We help them build their personal brands and also business brands. We help them build their sales systems and content creation systems. And in the last few years, we already built really from ground up and launched 30 plus personal brands of really brilliant experts. I've been teaching for 4 years now, and I would say it's over 350 marketers and entrepreneurs that I taught, and overall we've published an immense amount of content over all of our accounts of the agency and also our clients' accounts. And so just to give you an understanding what I mean when I say a visible go-to expert, it is somebody who is really the trailblazer in the industry, somebody who is motivated, determined, and convicted enough to make a change. And they are willing to become visible for that. They're willing to produce content. They're willing to ruffle some feathers and maybe offend somebody because this is not how it's done in the industry. And these are just some examples of the people that we worked with, Olympians, keynote speakers, entrepreneurs, and really high performing experts. And having a personal brand for them meant a whole lot for their business. And these are just some examples of people that after having us help them launch their brand had extreme results of what it meant for their business. So for example, Jennifer had one keynote after we've launched her keynote brand, and she brought in 250,000 years of business. Clemens, after we repositioned and rebranded him, could double his prices. So what I'm going to teach you really has a big impact on how much you can charge, how well you can sell, also how confident you feel about selling, and how people will perceive you and whether they will negotiate your prices, whether they will respect your work and value your time, and in the end, how quickly you will grow, how quickly you will gain followers, and how quickly you will be able to make a change and affect your industry. So let's start with a few personal branding and social media myths. So I know we are on the same page about whether you are in the same mindset about personal branding or whether you need some tweaking in order to make it work. Because in the end, showing up and building a big brand and growing a following all comes down to your limiting beliefs and whether you are capable of overcoming them and really making it work and being consistent and staying determined, or whether you subdue to your limiting beliefs and say, no, it doesn't work. And so what I hear very, very often is that content doesn't work anymore. Nothing goes viral. It's really hard to grow. And that is partially true. It has become much harder to grow. For example, LinkedIn 2023. Anyone who would start posting content would grow. Really, the platform was just pushing their new creator infrastructure. And because back then, nobody was really like actively publishing content on LinkedIn, the platform needed to reward those who were. So people were growing so fast. Now it's not the case anymore. Now you have to be really good at content production. You really have to understand how the platform works. You really have to understand how the hooks work and what the platform wants to see. Instagram has gone completely crazy. You were able to grow with like one video per month. Now you might not see that, but most of the people who are growing, they're posting like 3, 5, sometimes 10 times a day, like in trial reels, for example. So yes, the platforms have become very, very demanding, but the content still works and content still brings clients. What I also hear is that I don't have an interesting story to build a personal brand. Everyone has an interesting story. You just need to know how to tell it. We very often think so little of ourselves, like it's our nature to kind of make ourselves smaller than we really are. And in the eyes of our friends, of our family, or our colleagues, we are like this amazing, successful person that others might look up to or feel inspired by. So we just need to, if you ever think this way, you just need to find a way how you can tell that story so you believe in it and then others will believe in it. Yeah. What I also hear often is my business brand is enough. That is definitely not true, and I'm going to explain it to you later. What many, many experts believe in, my work will speak for itself, so they don't invest in the proper branding. They have like websites from as if they were built in 2000s. They don't post content, and they remain this small experts who kind of survive through their network, but they never make a real impact on the society, on the industry, or on people. And also, I don't need a personal brand. Yeah, that directly relates to I just need a business brand. So reap the times and the businesses that failed to reinvent themselves after AI disruption came along. Even before AI, we were talking about technology and how disconnected everyone is feeling. now with AI, when everyone has access to so many tools, so the ceiling of what profession looks like, what expert looks like, what thought leadership looks like, the ceiling is now much, much lower. So to really stand out of it, you can't just do what you were doing 2 years ago, and definitely not what people were doing 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So it's completely shifting. So how did it work before? Like the original marketing model is that you have a business brand, you have a product, and you probably have a place where you sell it. And people in the neighborhood would come and buy from your business whatever product it is that you're selling. Now, the businesses are so overwhelming and the faceless brands are just saturating the market to the extent that at some point some smart people said, hey, let me tell you my story, why I started this business in the first place. And so the first founders stepped forward and said, let me explain what we built, how we build, why we build it. And so they started talking directly to their audience through themselves and started showing how they're building it, how they're building it differently, how they as founders have the specific vision and mission for that. And so they were bringing the business into their business that was behind them through their brand. And that's happening more and more and more. And everyone who is switching to this model sees cheaper marketing costs, sees longer client retention, and that is just the numbers. So it's not any kind of woo-woo or any kind of like nice have shenanigans. These are real numbers that people see in their businesses. And I'm going to show you a few examples of the ROI, so return on your investment, of building a personal brand. So these are just a few examples of founders and their businesses. And you will see that in every single case, the number of followers is higher for the founders than their businesses, because people follow people and they're interested in their lives and not just in the product that they're selling. Another example of the ROI of personal branding is that personal brands convert better and the sales life cycles shorten every single time with every single launch and with every single project. So a few months ago, I was at Chris Donnelly's masterclass, and Chris Donnelly was at some point the fastest growing creator on LinkedIn in the world. Right now, he is at around 1.2 million followers. And what he said really stuck with me, because that opened even my eyes to how valuable a personal brand is even long term. So he said 16 years of building businesses. The first took 10 years to reach 10 million in revenue. The second took 3 years. The third took 1. And he just launched his fourth, so it was like beginning of the year, and it will be faster. And they're going really, really fast. So you see, every time you would start a new project, a new venture, a new business, when you have a personal brand that people know, the trust will start on a new level. People will start to come to you because they know you are reliable, you are consistent, you bring result, your name equals high quality. And okay, you might say, okay, but these are such big guys and big players and celebrities and so on. How does it look like for us regular mortals? So this is Julia Riedmeier. She is a branding expert for luxury brands. And I was chatting with her at one event recently. She came to me and she was like, Angelika, this is so great what you're doing. I also see the impact of personal branding in my business, because in my LinkedIn, I have these two links, and I have the agency website and I have my personal brand website. Guess which website gets all of her leads? All of the people contact her through her personal brand website. And that's a fact. Even when you look at these two pictures from her LinkedIn account, here you see this diamond picture, and here you see her. And so obviously when somebody sees the face, they will go to the face. They will go to talk to a human, because here they do not know whom they are getting and who they would be talking to. So yes, people buy from people, and it doesn't matter whether you are a startup founder. It doesn't matter if you are an agency founder, if you are a consultancy founder, if you are a speaker, if you are a service provider. Your personal brand will give you a leverage that you will be able to use for many, many, many years during your business, or even if you go back to employment, you will be able to negotiate higher prices. You will be able to negotiate better conditions, because people will see how credible you are. They will see how knowledgeable you are. They will respect your time, your knowledge, and your expertise. And that's what it's all about. So for you to understand whether to build a business brand or whether to build a personal brand, this is the question that I get very, very often. Where do I start? And typically my answer is do both, because they serve different purposes. So a business brand gives you credibility. Business brand is more transactional. This is where people expect to sell and buy services. Business brand is something that you can scale through systems, and business brand is something that you can transfer in the end. So if your plan is to not be the founder all the time, but at some point maybe sell or exit or just hire a CEO and retire, this you can do with your business brand. A personal brand is more a relationship brand, and you have a personal brand even if you are not visible online, because the way your reputation is among your peers or in your network, this is your personal brand. So it's about relationships, and it's more an expression of who you are, of your vision and your message. It's really individual, and there is no only truth about how your personal brand should look like. And the personal brand is there for trust building and creation of connection with your peers, with your network, with your customers, and with your partners. So it defines everything. And if you're a founder, for example, and you're looking to fundraise, how do you think investors are going to think about you? They will look at your LinkedIn, they will look at your website, they'll take a decision. Is this person trustworthy? Are they serious enough? Will they really try to grow their business, or is it just like a shiny new object that they started something and they are going to drop it in 2 months? Everything that you're putting out offline and online defines your personal brand and your reputation, and people who work with you or buy from you will take a decision whether they want to work with you or buy from you based on that reputation. So today I'm going to give you a full roadmap for how to create a visible go-to expert brand that builds trust and grows your business. And this is really what I want you to have. I want you to understand that it's not just content, that it's not just looking pretty. There have to be a connection, and there have to be systems that help you grow your business. But it's also, like I already said, not for somebody who is just there to play around on Instagram and post a few reels and call it, hey, I have a business. No, what I'm sharing with you is a full system that usually is gate kept and you don't get for free anywhere, because companies will treat it as a trade secret and will not share this kind of frameworks. I don't care. I want you to use them. I want you to succeed. I want you to send me a message in a year and say, Angelika, I just got my 10,000 followers and I'm making this much money in revenue every single month, and then it would make my day. So yes, this is for those who are serious, who really want to do it with the strategy from ground up, and you're serious about how you're perceived. So you become known in your industry and you want to make a change. So this is very important. Now, before we start with the full roadmap, give me a yes in the chat if you're excited and you want to learn more. So people, wake up. Yes, give me happy yeses. I hope you're listening and engaging. All right. So, oops. The roadmap, the 5 parts that we are going to go through. First, the strategy, then the context, then the conviction, then the channels, and final thing, the money. So we are going from the foundation to the thing everyone wants to have. Let me see. Yes, a few more happy yeses. Awesome. And at the end, we will have a Q&A and I will give you a small gift. So stay until the end. All right, let's start with the strategy. When people say, I want to have a personal brand, they all say, I have a logo and it's ready. And then I'm like, okay, but what does the logo mean? And what does the brand stand for? And what is the vision? And what is the why beyond monetization? And who is your target audience? And how are you different for your competitors? And what is your core message? And nobody is able to answer this because social media sells us kind of this very romantic idea about what having a brand and what having a business is like. And for many, it's just like doing workation and working from Hawaii and having a lot of time and flexibility, and it's so super easy, and they think I'll just post a few things on social media and the clients will just come. Well, unfortunately, this is not how it works, and every single business that I worked with and that I've seen succeed has started with a strategy, and they revise their strategy and they tweak that strategy, and everything that they do starts from the foundation, from where and they're going and what they want to build. So yeah, a brand strategy will typically start with positioning strategy, where you will understand your audience, your competition, your unique selling proposition, the market category. Then you will move to the brand substance, like what is your brand communicating, the purpose, the vision, the mission, the values. And then once you have that, you will go into the way how to express your brand. And that's where you will define your personality, your tone of voice. That's where you will define your brand communication, the key messaging, the storytelling, the brand tagline. The brand tagline can be one of the most impactful and memorable things about your brand. And the very typical examples that Nike just do, this is like the phrase, whoever says that on the street, even unrelated to Nike, everyone's mind will right away jump to Nike. And this is like inception of the brand in our minds. The Nike lives like a little parasite who owns that phrase in our brains, and everyone who ever says that right away thinks about Nike. Yeah, and then the final part only is the visual expression, because only when you know what you want to communicate and what is your core message, only then you can take that communication and visualize it as the visual identity. So if you started working on your logo or on your website without going through the full strategy first, it is very likely that you will return to it maybe in a year or two, because you will see that the things are not exactly landing the way they should and not exactly working out as well as you would like. And that's actually nothing to be ashamed of or be afraid of. Many people do start somehow just to get their foot in the door, so to say, just to get the first money. And then when they have already gotten an understanding of what it is they want and what it is that they're building, they will rebrand. And that's totally normal. Like, we have done the same. So we started as a content marketing agency that was called Content Fudge. And I think in February we started the rebranding process with the whole strategy and communication, and it takes a long time to understand how you want to be perceived and what you want to be known for. And so now we are finally almost ready with our brand identity and with the new website. So it's a process, and it's also a process of development over multiple years. So it's totally okay. But I just want you to be aware that it's not just a logo and not just a few colors that Claude puts onto your website. So now, where do you want to start? Where should you start with your brand strategy? The hardest part for people is the category, to say exactly who they are. Because only if you know your market category can you identify who your competitors are. And only if you know who your competitors, then you can identify what is your unique selling proposition. And only when you know your unique selling proposition, you will be able to evaluate if it is valuable for the audience or not. So let's have a look at how we can define your category. The category will help you answer the question, what are you an expert for? And so there is a diagnostic exercise where you should fill a blank. I am the go-to expert. And this has to be maximum 1 or 2 words, or maximum 3, but it cannot be I'm an expert in and then comma and one more thing and then comma and one more thing. Like the longer that list continues, the more you are like a bad restaurant that offers every single cuisine and then every single dish tastes the same, because you cannot be good at everything. You can only be really good at one thing, because real expertise is an inch wide and a mile deep. And this is when people will take you seriously. They will know that you're the one who will know all the nuances. They have to go to you. But here, yeah, so strong positioning means crafting a repeated public association between your name and one topic. So whenever somebody is looking, for example, hey, I'm thinking to build a website for my personal brand, and they'll be like, Angelique is the personal brand expert, go to her. So this is like what I'm trying to achieve with my personal brand. And you need to identify the same for yourself. A common pushback that I get, though, from many experts who've been doing it for many, many years and who come to me and they say, hey, Angelica, and I do this for my clients and this for my clients, and I can do this and this and this, and everything is good and everything brings great results. But nobody can understand what I sell, and so my sales calls are like 1 hour lecture where I describe everything that I can do for them, and my elevator pitches are also like 20 minutes long. And the reason for this is that when you are really, really knowledgeable in your field and you have worked for a long time, you can do many things. It's really hard to minimize it, to reduce it to just one sentence. It feels wrong, because like as if we are taking away all the other value that you can deliver. And many people are afraid of becoming one trick pony, like so narrow that people will just use you once and will not buy anything from you again. But it is much worse to be a jack of all trades, because when you're known for everything, a person cannot refer you, or they do not think of you in the first place when they get a problem. So it's better to be known, really known for one thing, like let's say Simon Sinek and his Start With Why, than being kind of known for everything and in the end nobody takes you seriously. So niching down is not a life sentence. You can't choose just one thing for your positioning. It's all right, because what you need it for is actually to get into the market. Yeah. A niche is a wedge into the market. One problem that you own. Because on day one, when a customer gets to know you, they do not need to know everything that you're doing, which is also possible that your business behind you will, and the people who work with you or your strategic partners will be doing some of those things. So if you start listing everything that your business does, that is very not beneficial for you. So you need to think about like, what is that very one thing, one specific problem where you are most useful first. And that one will help you get into the market. And if you do not know how to do that, this is an exercise that we do with many of my clients who are kind of having a problem choosing that one problem. And if you are in the same situation, do this exercise after today's masterclass. List all the problems in a row that you can help your customers with. Like, for example, this is what it would look like for me. I could do websites, podcasting, content creation, online marketing, email funnels, branding, meta ads design. That's how I could help my clients, and also how my partners or team members could help them. But nobody would believe me if I ever said that I'm an expert in everything. So at some point, I need to decide for just one thing. And I decided branding. Why? Because when I was thinking about every single one of these problems, I was asking myself, what am I so passionate about that I could talk about for hours without getting tired? And like, you wake me up at 4 a.m. and I'll tell you the whole positioning roadmap, and I could produce endless content about it. And then it became clear. So what I want you to do after you wrote down all of the problems that you can help your customers with, I want you to select one that you're super, super passionate about. And under that one, I want you to list all the topics that belong to that one category that you can produce enormous content about. And this is what I mean, that the true expertise is an inch wide and a mile deep. And the best part about it is that once people enter my world, right, once they get like through that wedge into, like I get through the wedge into the market where my customers can get into my world, I can upsell anything. So as soon as a person comes to me for branding or personal branding, I can tell them, hey, do you need advertising, email funnels? We can set up a whole lead generation system for you. Or, hey, do you need content creation? We can do reels for you, or podcasting. So whenever they are inside of your world and they already had a positive experience with you, and they already know that they can rely on you and that you deliver high quality work, they will be more likely to trust you to also buy the other services. So this is how it works. So you really do not need to be afraid about choosing that one thing, because as soon as the people are in your world, if you build good relationships with them during that process, they will stay with you until the end. So once you did this exercise, you will be able to complete this sentence. I am the category expert. So here you will be able to put your market category. And once you have done that exercise, you will know what category you compete in and who your competitors are. And so once you know who your competitors are, you will be able to start working on your positioning more precisely. And I'm not going to go into the details of the positioning roadmap, but these are the basic steps. So you know your market category, like it's a bit reverse. Once you know your market category, you can identify who your competitors and what your competitive advantage is. And so basically, if you're unsure, ask yourself the question, if you didn't exist today, what would your customers be using? Then you define your unique attributes, what features, capabilities you have that alternatives don't have. And for personal brands, it's not about features, obviously. It's more about unique credentials, unique experiences, unique methodology. Then you identify the value, the outcome that you can produce for your customers. And finally, you identify who are those customers who would care the most about your value. And actually, I know many people start with the customers, but very often when we do not know what result we produce, what outcome we deliver, and what market category we are in, we might end up targeting the wrong people and then think our offer is shit, but actually we might just be targeting the wrong audience. So this is all interconnected, and that's why positioning is not such a simple thing, but following this roadmap, you can definitely do this. And in the end, the goal is to be able to complete this sentence. I help whom, so your target audience, do what? Achieve a goal or solve a problem using the unique methodology or system that you've built based on your unique experience. And this is the positioning statement that we use for personal brands. For business brands, it would be a little bit different, but this is what you need for yourself. So this is very specific. This is super clear. This is basically like your elevator pitch. And a person after hearing this will know exactly who you work with, exactly the outcome that you deliver, and exactly how you do this, and the unique way of you delivering it. So covering everything that you basically need to cover when you're doing your brand strategy. So the next step is the context. And this is a very interesting one. And I know many people skip this, but I have a group coaching group. It's called Personal Brand University. And we've been talking about it a lot because right now we are on social media module and we've been studying a lot of accounts of like big creators like Cody Sanchez or Quantum Queen or Advice with Erin. And we identified like the girls also saw a very specific pattern of how those people portray themselves on social media. So this is where context is very important. So positioning is not just knowing the value that you're bringing and the audience that you're bringing that value to. It's also about setting a specific context. It's about creating a frame of reference for people to understand you or your product. So why is it important? Because you can position yourself in multiple ways, but some ways will add to your value and some will prevent purchases. Some ways will justify the premium price that you're setting, and some ways will be like, yeah, this person looks like they're just starting out or they do not know what they're doing, so I'll go to somebody else. So let me demonstrate to you an experiment by Washington Post. So this is Joshua Bell. He's one of the best violinists in the world, and when he plays in the big concert halls in the US, a ticket can cost like 2,000 euros. And so critics and audience reports that listening to him play is a life-changing experience. This is what they say when they hear him play in a concert hall. Now, Washington Post made an experiment of taking him, dressing him in a very basic clothes, and having him play the same music in a subway station. So during that time, he collected like 20, 30 euros, and the owner of the shop right next to where he was playing almost called the police on him because he was making too much noise. So very far from the life-changing music experience as people would report in the concert hall. So what do we learn from this experiment? Is the way you portray yourself, the way you look defines how people receive your value, because you can be delivering the same product, but if you're delivering it in your PJs with dirty hair, talking into a story from Instagram, or whether you are being your best self, a professional who looks the part, people will decide the price before you even name it. And this is very important. So your branding, how well it is done, your clothes, how professional it looks, your whole aesthetics on Instagram and the quality of your content, everything tells the people what level you are on. And I know you might think, oh, this is so superficial, but unfortunately, this is the reality. And this is just human buyer psychology that is confirmed by experiments. Another visualization of positioning and context setting is a very famous cartoon in the branding world from Paul North, who depicted two boys. One was very honest about what he was selling. He said lemonade, 20 cents a glass. And another one decided to be a bit more creative, and he said he was selling lemonade cleanse, but in the end he was selling the same product. But because people perceive the value of lemonade cleanse higher as just the lemonade, they lined up to pay 20 euros a glass. Yeah. The way you portray your value decides how much people are willing to pay you. And then I will finish with the context example by the quote of Maria Abramovich. She said a very interesting thing. If you're a baker in a bakery making bread, you're just a baker. But if you're a baker making bread in a gallery, you are an artist. So everything around you, everything that you surround yourself with, every way you portray yourself online or offline will decide how much people will think your services will cost, how much they will try to negotiate your price, and how much headache you will have with people who only pay you little and then argue about everything and then unhappy about everything, or who are willing to pay you more and value your time. So if you're serious about how people perceive you and what you can charge based on the perception that you create with the context that you set, you need to stop being authentic and set the context strategically. Because in the end, if you look to all of the bigger experts that you admire, their authenticity is strategic authenticity. In that moment, the authenticity is all about alignment with your values and with your vision of what you want to change in the world or in your industry, or what you want to achieve, and staying true to those values. But it's not about just showing up however you are and not taking care about how it looks for the people. So the next step is conviction. What makes a true go-to expert is conviction. And I'm sure you have noticed this as well. You see a lot of people posting on social media, but only one or maybe two are really sticking out from the crowd. And that's because those people are not afraid to develop a point of view that the field does not necessarily agree on yet. And this is a very important distinction. When you're posting content that is just nice and like good to know, people will just like treat it as white noise in the background, maybe read it, maybe not, but will not remember it. If you define a specific point of view backed by your real authority, lived expertise, your case studies, your portfolio, original observations, or research that you made, that's when people cannot argue, although they will, and that's okay. This is the 3-star Amazon phenomenon. When your book is really is very groundbreaking, there will be a lot of 5-star reviews and a lot of 1-star reviews, because you will always form two camps. One camp of those who are like fans and in love, and one camp of haters who are like, oh my God, this is so stupid. And so in the end, the average will be 3 stars. And this is what you want to achieve with your personal brand. You need to develop a conviction, something that you stand behind and what you die for. And that's what you need to base your content on. So when you start developing your conviction, the very first step is develop your core idea or message. Find one thing that you want people to quote back. For example, if you are a leadership expert and you think that leadership is female and you're like ready to graffiti it on your t-shirt and wear it everywhere, people will be quoting that phrase, leadership is female. So define that one core idea, something that you really, truly, absolutely believe in, and repeat it relentlessly everywhere. Because you want people to know you for that specific point of view and to quote you for it. And then step 2, develop your different point of views. And this is a fun exercise that we do with some of our clients with whom we do content creation, especially on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a platform that really likes contrarian takes, is you create 2 columns. On column on the left, you write things people in your industry are saying or doing that you disagree with. And in the column on the right, you write the exact opposite. And so the idea here is not to just be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, but to find what it is that you believe in that others are maybe doing wrong. So I said it several times already, a visible go-to expert in an industry usually aims to change something in the industry. So if you are right now just starting out, because there are some people who are just starting out and you are unsure, do this exercise. Really list everything that people are doing or saying and find what you have observed and that is different from others are doing. So for example, I know a lot of Instagram gurus or social media coaches will tell you just be authentic and be yourself. But because I do so much branding with really top experts, even though they are authentic in what they are saying, they will never show up in, I don't know, with dirty hair and no makeup. Like go to people like Codich Sanchez, you will not see a single picture of her without makeup. So yeah. Or another thing, like most social media managers will tell you define content pillars. And what I have observed over the last years by teaching people and working with people, that when they have several content pillars, they just fuck up their whole content. They cannot stay consistent. Which brings me to the next point. Once you define your core message that you want to be known for, once you know your different point of views, you do not need any content pillars, like different disconnected topics where you need to sit down every single day and think, okay, what do I want to tell about that topic? And what do I want to tell about that topic? And what do I want to tell about that topic? And basically like you're restarting your thinking from scratch. And that's where this like decision paralysis and this overwhelm leads to people not being able to stay consistent because they are thinking in these three disconnected pillars. And what we do, we define one thing that our client wants to be known for, and we just discuss it from different perspective, from different angles, from different points of views, from different stories, from different experiences. But in the end, the message is the same, just sprinkle through different ideas, different angles. And when you have this anchor, one thing that you're like, yes, I want to be the expert who builds like no bullshit, an expert who gives no bullshit personal branding advice, everything that you will be posting then will be leading to that one specific idea. So really try this if you have been posting and were unable to stay consistent because you're making a carousel over there and a reel over here and a post over there and everything is different. Try to remove all the complexity and all of the diversity, simplify to the very, very basic things, and try to just really post about same stuff, same core idea. I'm not meaning the same post. And you'll see how much easier and how much lighter your head gets and how much lighter the whole content creation process gets. Now we are coming to the channels. Now you understand what you want to be talking about. You understand how to portray yourself on social media. You understand what to talk about on social media. Now, what channels should we talk about? So social media is valuable for different goals, and we typically as marketers will divide different channels based on their function in our typical funnel. So we would have top of funnel, something that attracts traffic, attention, and grows following. Middle of funnel that creates connection, nurtures, boosts trust, and builds authority. And bottom of funnel where we sell. And so we have different channels for visibility and we have different channels for authority. But what I want you to do, if you have been posting already and if you have been building visibility, I want you to graduate from being visible to being an authority, because many people, they just focus on visibility, so top of funnel, and they never go deeper. So there are two ways to be known: visibility, something where you rent attention really short term, and authority, something where you own attention because people choose to watch your content and not because algorithm accidentally showed your content to somebody. So how can you go from visibility to authority? You go there by strategic choice of channels. Visibility channels are LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok, anything short form, anything that is good for fast reach. It's algorithm dependent. It has short shelf life. Like tomorrow, your reels might not be showing to anyone anymore. it's great for building awareness, and it's a very important part of the funnel, because if you don't have the visibility, you will not be able to sell anything. It's great for distribution and top of funnel discovery. Discovery is a keyword here. But thought leadership channels are different. Thought leadership channels are YouTube and podcast. Basically anything long form, searchable, evergreen, and own. Something where you can demonstrate the real depth of your expertise. Something where you can build durable authority and compound over years. So evergreen means when you post content on YouTube, and it is relevant, no matter whether it's 2026 or 2036, when a person Googles it, or whatever the platform will be called like in 10 years, they will see your video from 10 years ago because the topic is still relevant. This is one of the biggest unlocks that I had in my business, starting a podcast. Because what people don't realize, they think, it's just another way to create content. But if you create a YouTube channel where you can invite guests, for example, or you create a podcast where you invite guests, this is pure networking. And so your whole network, your relationships and connections can grow so fast by owning one of these thought leadership channels that it will impact your business tremendously, the way none of the other short form visibility channels could ever impact. So if you were ever wondering, should you have a podcast? Yes. So my advice usually is to start with top of funnel channels like LinkedIn, Instagram. It is essential because this is where people will find you or will check you out when they decide whether they should work with you or not. But in a year or two of having a personal brand or business, make sure to start the real thought leadership channel. Other credibility assets that will make you an even higher standing expert in your industry is a book. And people should, like, if you are serious about making your name known in the industry, you should write a book as fast as possible. And guest appearances, and that can be on podcasts or it can be speaking on stages. There you can borrow the host credibility associated with your name and really move faster in your industry on the way to becoming a go-to expert. So we are quite good on time, and we are getting to the final part, the money, the fun part. Many people think that just having social media accounts and posting every now and again, or occasionally going to networking events, or having their customers recommend you every now and again will give them a consistent revenue flow. And this is totally, totally wrong. This is like the wrong idea of a business that is sold to us on social media. Posting content, you have to be so big for people to actually like really trust what you're saying, or you have to be there for so long and your offline network has to be so good that it kind of works together. If you're just starting out, and there are many people who are just starting out right now, you need to be very, very active, and you need to be selling very, very actively. And there are so many ways how you can be selling. We can sell through outreach and sending out cold emails and cold DMs and cold calling, things that nobody likes. So, but it works for many people. And if you develop the system, it can really work. Like, for example, selling in LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a really, really good strategy, and it works for many of my clients. But for some people, it wouldn't work because they don't feel comfortable sneaking into people's DMs and telling them what they're doing wrong and offering a solution. Then there are referrals. You can upsell things to existing customers. You can do repeat business. You can get referrals, networking, very important relationship building. You can do affiliate marketing. You can do testimonials, partner referrals, and so on. Then you can do paid marketing, and this is one of the most effective ones. So the agency would not survive if we were not doing advertising. So meta advertising works really, really well. You will reach basically every single person on Meta because pretty much everyone has either Facebook or Instagram account. YouTube advertising, SEO, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, media buying, so billboard, sponsored content. There's so many different ways. Content is a long-term game and a slow game. It can work for some, so you can like sell digital products, ebooks, you can have lead magnets, you can get people into paid newsletters, you can have like paid subscriptions, you can do keynote speaking, you can have paid Substack channel, you can have communities and memberships, events and workshops. So there are also different ways where you can be monetizing through content. And we have alliances like distribution partners, revenue shares, strategic partners, exclusive partnerships, and so on. So there are so many different ways to sell. And what I'm trying to tell you is that you cannot just be sitting and waiting that somebody will come to you just because you have an Instagram account. You have to choose one or two ways of selling and get really good at it. Like, not just try sending one or two cold emails, like really optimizing your messaging, optimizing your follow-up strategy, really creating a system in a strategic and experiment-like way. The same with meta advertising, the same if you're like running webinars, so if you're running paid workshops, whatever way. But I do not know a person, maybe you know somebody, who gets all of their clients just through social media and posting content. So that's why there is what's called a social selling letter. So content is usually like the more like brand building kind of thing, which acts long term and very important for trust building, but it's more like passive. This is something where you post and a person who really has a problem that you can solve, needs it solved very urgently, can find your content and come and talk to you. But this is not that you are coming to them or pulling them into your funnel. You kind of sit and wait and they come to you. Then there are ways like lead magnets that are more low efforts that you can automate, where you can get clients to pay attention to you and maybe share email address or telephone number or download something from you. And that's where you can get into more active engagement with them. So I had a few examples. So for example, bottom of funnel content, something where you can demonstrate how it could look like to work with you, is like showing case studies or describing your method. And this content will typically perform less effectively as others. So top of the funnel, what we already saw. But this is very important if you want to convert interested followers into potential buyers. Then lead magnets. This is something I don't know if everyone knows what a lead magnet is. It's a free kind of resource that you, like an ebook or a checklist or a cloud skill that you can offer to people to download for free, and in return they will give you their email address. So you can take those lead magnets, you can strategically place them, as for example I have placed them on my LinkedIn features or Instagram stories and highlights, or you can produce content that promotes that lead magnet, where you tell people, hey, comment on my post and I will send you this free resource. So that works well. And this is a bit more active, low effort way. You just set it up once with the whole funnel, with the automated email sequence, and then you can reuse it multiple times. But then if you want to get more active into selling, and this is like an example of social selling, like on LinkedIn, you can do warm outreach, where you send out connection requests and you start talking with people in the chat, or you comment on their posts, you make them aware that you exist, you share some value, and then you try to get them on a sales call. Or if you want to go like very, very actively on LinkedIn and work with Sales Navigator, you can do that. Or alternatively, if this is not your way, you can run webinars, you can do workshops, you can do networking events, whatever it is that fits your business model and your personality. But what I'm trying to say with this is that you need to be selling very, very actively. So you want to get into DM conversations and ask for a virtual coffee. You want to ask for a referral. Like, I never sit and wait until a client refers to me somebody else. By the end of the project, when we are like in a very good state, I tell them, hey, it was such a great pleasure working with you. Is there at least like one person in your network who could need my help with their branding or website or whatever? And usually they are capable of thinking that of that one person, and they refer you, and then they do a warm introduction, and then your relationship start already on a different level. You should also think about, okay, how are my offers structured so I can always upsell something to existing clients, because it is much, much cheaper to retain your existing clients than always acquire. In fact, the statistics show that it's 17 times more expensive to acquire new clients. So you really need to think, how can I structure my offer ladder so there is always the next step? Ask people for a coffee. Extend your network. If you feel uncomfortable doing that, that's great. That means that you will actually grow doing this. DM somebody on LinkedIn today and say, hi, we've been following each other for a while. I would love to get to know you. Let's go for a coffee. This is such a natural and human way to really build relationships that lead then to business outcomes. Do active outreach for keynotes and podcasting. Keynotes is one of the best marketing ways you can do right now. You can get so many referrals and so many clients from just one keynote, like what I mentioned Jennifer had, that was phenomenal. Ask for testimonials. Never think that clients will give it to you just because they think you're so great. Always send them like a form and ask them for a testimonial. Look for sponsors. Whatever it is, you need to do it actively. And in the end, the goal is to get people into a sales call. And sales call, it's like a whole different webinar, like how to do this. But what I want you to know is that you need like, depending on how much your offer is, and I know it will cost differently for different people, but like if you are selling at like a medium ticket offer, you need like at least 10 sales calls every single month. That's like really minimum, because good salespeople convert at 20-30%. Think how well you are converting in your current skill level of sales, and then you can calculate from bottom up, okay, how many in order to get this amount of clients, how many sales calls do you need to have? How many people do you need to DM every single day? How many people you need to reach with your content or outreach? So this is all calculatable, but this is not possible without actually doing this. So let's recap. We are very good on time. Last time our webinar ran really, really overboard. Today we have learned how to find your category, and I hope you will be able to now define what kind of expert for this one specific thing you are. We learn how to formulate a strong positioning statement so people understand who you work with, what value you deliver, and how you do it differently. You know how to set the right context so that you can charge at the right prices. You know what assets. Oh, this is not wrong, not that right. You know what channels to choose in order to go to get visibility or authority, and you know what you need to do to start selling.